Just now because it didn't
Hey,
take. Hi, good
hap-
morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Glad you're.
Hey,
So, welcome back to the world of the living.
thank you. Happy New Year.
So, everyone who's been following us on the challenge or following me on the challenge knows that Stacy was out for the count with COVID. Ooh.
Woohoo. Yep, it was a fun ride. Glad to be back to the land of the living. I think what's this Wednesday? So Monday it was a full week. And I was just saying that I think I've put on makeup for the first time in 2022. But my
Which is,
brain came back. My brain came back on Monday,
yeah,
and I was actually able to kind of function a little bit, but not 100%. And
right.
then yesterday it was like, oh, well, hello, I can
Exactly.
think. What a
That's great.
concept. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was a
that's
rough ride, but thank you for holding down the fort with the challenge. And this is why there's so many things, right? Like pre-planning,
yeah.
getting things done ahead of time. You never know what's going to hit because so a week ago Monday, we were
Mhm.
together and we were planning, and as we had promised, we were going to do the challenge along with everybody. And then boom, COVID hit. I don't know how you didn't get it, but you didn't. So that's great because we
Yeah,
were
so
together on Monday.
yeah, it's interesting because we were together all day in a very small space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I mean, I do believe I had COVID the first round because I was very sick, but that was like a year and a half ago or whenever. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's true that you develop some type of immunity. And, and I tested just so everyone is clear. We had home tests. So I tested almost every day just to make sure because I didn't want to be around anybody if I happen to have it again. And I thought, because I've already had it and I've already had the shots, maybe I just, I'm don't have any symptoms, right?
Right,
But
because you can, yeah.
I still tested negative every time. So yeah, so it was interesting. So we were going to do the challenge together, and I did the lives and I walked everyone through everything, but I didn't want to share stuff that only I did. So
Right, exactly, exactly. So
yeah, so we're going to pick up for those of you who are challengers listening. We have the vision board workshop is today,
it
correct?
is.
And then we are going to do a live for you guys, Stacy and I, in about a week, and we are going to share our plans with you. The people who were in the challenge will share them with you at that time, so you'll see all about what we're doing. And it's sort of, I will say, not to say that that was a great thing that happened to you, Stacy, because it wasn't. But I will say sometimes when that happens, you get a little bit of a reboot, right? So I had the ability because I knew Stacy was, in bed watching Netflix or something. So I had the ability to um, really think about stuff and what we wanted to do going forward, and made some, decisions, which was interesting. Made some decisions that I, wanted to do something different and not do some other stuff. And then when Stacy's brain came back online, she was like, "Oh, I was kind of thinking the same way." So that's great. So sometimes, a setback allows you the ability to be able to go, "Okay, let me not rush,"
Yeah.
because we might have written something differently a week ago. Well, we
Well, and
would
I
have.
also think that sometimes the best laid plans, because like I said, so on the Monday, we had gotten together and wrote quite, a good part. We did the reflection, look back, and we kind of figured out what worked and what didn't. And then we started to really plan. And we had quite a specific, like we were like deep into,
Yeah.
how we were going to structure our time, what things we were going to focus on, what kind of trainings we were going to do going forward, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, boom, in bed. Thank God. Just on a quick side note, thank goodness for friends like Faye who know all of the Netflix shows. Because I'm like, I've run out. I need something else to watch. But I had
Yeah.
to short series, a few episodes because I didn't want to dive too deep into like bigger series and stuff like that. But anyway, that's a side note because I needed more TV to watch. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. So yeah, so being able to take a step back, I think you're right. I think if we had gone like Monday, Tuesday, we would have stuck with that plan. So sometimes, taking that break and looking at it with fresh eyes, you realize that, you know what, that actually doesn't work. I like this piece. I don't like this piece. So sometimes it is better not to rush into planning too much.
Well, I think, and we're very transparent. We like to share, what we're doing, so you guys don't make our mistakes or anything. And so, for me, as I was going live by myself, and
Sorry.
I sort of realized that we were a little aggressive in what we wanted to do this year in terms of our live presentations, and I didn't want to be in that situation. I didn't want to be behind the eight ball. Is a pool term? Just because I have a
It's too
pool
bad we
table.
don't have the pool table in the background for that. You could have gone behind the 8 ball.
We'll show you the beautiful pool table, which I got. That was stunning. I don't know how to play, but who cares? I just like to look at it. Anyway, Stacy is a shark, though, so there we go. So anyway, yeah. So I just realized that I didn't want to. I wanted to really focus on what we do and our value add, which is really all about truly understanding your brand advantage and how to become visible with that brand advantage, because most people don't even understand what their advantage is. So I was very clear on that. And then the other piece was I just didn't want to commit to too many live trainings and always have to go, okay, this isn't going to work. Something came up. Can we switch it? I didn't want to do that because that's really hard to do. And I don't want to. So I wanted to be able to say, okay, we're here for you guys, and we'll add all this value, and we're going to give you everything you need, and it works for our schedule too.
Well, it does have to work in both ways, and this proved it, right? Like when
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes when you kind of sit down to plan and you're in a great mood and you're awake and you're good
yeah,
and you're all gung ho and you're like, yeah, I can work, 500 hours a week and I can do
yeah,
this and I can do training 16 times a day and
yeah,
but then what ends up happening is you're right, life gets in the way or something happens. Now, thankfully, and I know you had mentioned this last week when we were doing the challenge, but this is where working with somebody is a huge advantage, right?
yeah,
Like I was sick and you were able to do the Q&A and answer the
yeah,
questions that everyone had about the lives, which was amazing. But sometimes I think also you end up doing things subpar. And
right,
that's not who we are. Like if we're going to do training, we're going to make sure that it's valuable, we're going to make sure it's
right,
informative, we're going to make sure it's done right. That's what's really important. So if we started doing all of the stuff that we got all gung ho about, we're like, we can do this and we can do that. And we get all excited. And then we're like, hang on a second. What does that mean? Like it
yeah.
means that the training isn't going to be as good because, we've
We're
bitten off too much that,
yeah.
than we can do. So,
And I think the other lesson here is if you are working with a partner, you need to make sure that you don't rely on that partner to be comfortable on the camera, right? Like you have to both be able to jump in. So if you're not comfortable, if you're doing anything, whether it's a service business or even product support, whatever, but if you have to jump on with a client or you have to jump on to do a live, you better be comfortable being in front of the camera, because sometimes we segregate, and we segregate, but we both can do all everything. So even though I have a tendency to do strategy, Stacey has a tendency to do production, we both can do both. So we don't have to worry whether somebody's out. And the problem is with a lot of partnerships or a lot of teams, when you're too reliant on one person to do something and they get COVID,
you can't show
then
up.
you have a huge problem. So you have to really, if you're doing your planning for the year ahead, you have to really go back and evaluate, can I do this if somebody goes out? If my VA, for example, a
Mm,
lot of people rely on their VAs to set up their streams, to set up their lives, to whatever they need to do in the technical field, they rely on their VAs.
yeah,
If their VA goes out, which happens,
a
and
lot.
it's not just sick. I mean, maybe they just decide they don't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean? If your VA leaves, does your business fall apart? So you
Yeah.
need to make sure that you're very clear on understanding all the components of your business, and that you're able to, it might not be all the way to bright, but at least you can get, you can bet it on the lowest set of the dim bulb, right? And keep it maintaining so you can at least see, right?
Well, and we've had people who have come to us and said, like, can you teach us this? But I don't want you to teach me. I want you to teach my VA. And to me, that's a huge, and I know for the years that I taught social media, it was, I don't need to know this. Can you teach my VA how to do this? And I'm like, I understand. And we've had this conversation many times. I understand that you don't want to do this,
Yeah.
but you should at least know how to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Your preference, like Faye, you've always said, your preference is to show up. You don't want to do the back end. You don't want to be looking at all this stuff. You want to show up and be the dancing monkey. Like you've said that many times. However, last week showed I did not have to come on. I did not have to be here. I didn't even have to be part of it. You knew what to do, where to click, and how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
absolutely no issue.
You have to know your stuff. And that's why, in our Global Impact Accelerator, we teach you everything there is to know, whether it's your podcast or your video creation, whatever. You don't have to be the best at it, but you have to kind of know a little bit. I mean, a lot of, in the past, I've had clients that have come to me and said, can you guys redo my website? And I'd be like, okay, let's take a look. And they'd always be like, I don't want to know how to do it. No, you have to know, because here we are in the situation where you've come to us and you don't even know your login.
Yeah.
You don't even know what program you use. And sometimes I'd be like, well, are you using WordPress? Are you using Kajabi? Are you using, what are you using? And they're like, I don't know. Well, where's your login? I don't know. Well, how would you expect me to get into your program if you don't know your program?
Yep.
Right. So it's the same thing. Like, you have to have the basics, not everything. Right.
Yeah.
You don't need everything, but you must have the basics of, okay, I can keep my business running efficiently until I get somebody who can help me, and which is fine, gets even better, right? Like, great. Eventually you find a new VA or whoever it is that you use, and they're fabulous and fantastic. But until then, I mean, how many people have programs that they can't write their own emails?
Well, they don't know what program. They don't even know what program sends their email out. They don't know their list. They don't know, like, anything from that perspective. And I just think it's crucial for the operation of your business and the continuity of your business to, again, I mean, like you said, VAs come and go. Maybe they changed business. Maybe they decided that they took on too many clients. Maybe they got busy. Maybe they went on vacation. Like, they're allowed to have a life.
Yeah, and maybe they just unfortunately got hit by a bus. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to sound morbid, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
I always go with hit by a bus syndrome.
You
have to look at that, because it's your business. It's not their business.
And it's the same thing with your business. I mean, it's like, we're fine because, we're partners, so we're good. But, and then on the other flip side, my daughter has all my logins to my entire life. So if anything happens to me, she can get in. And why is it important? Because it's little things like your Facebook and your Instagram, social media stuff, your like, say you have a website and you need to cancel it. The person that's left needs to cancel it. It is like so challenging to jump through all those hoops to get somebody to say, hey, you're allowed to, because most of the time you get a no. Nope, sorry, you don't own the account. Okay, well, that person's dead. Doesn't matter. You don't own the account.
Well, I can't tell you the amount of times that somebody goes, well, I can't get into, I'm not an admin on my own Facebook page. I remember, like, way back.
Yeah.
And it was a VA who had set it up. The VA was an admin.
Yeah.
The person who owned the business was not. And the VA's email address that they used to set it up is no longer in existence, because they set up a special one for their business.
Right.
So we had such a hard time, like, proving, and all, like, it was weeks and weeks and weeks trying to prove ownership.
Well, we're just like, we're in a situation now where one of our brands, our Instagram, they locked our Instagram because they said it was against some rule, which it never is, because we hadn't posted in a long time. And we are now in month 2, trying to get them to unlock it. And it's ours. We own it. We have proof. We have everything, and we can't get it.
Yeah.
So
And we set it up.
we set it up. There's nothing, nobody did it. So if we're having trouble and we set it up, you can only imagine the challenges if you let somebody else. So, I mean, that's the key, is like understanding. I mean, I help a lot of people, as you do, friends and relatives, to do all their stuff, right? Set up their internet service, set up their whatever service. And I know all their logins, but they don't.
Yeah.
And they don't cancel things because they don't know how, right? And even like yesterday, I was helping a client yesterday, the day before. They were trying to get through to their payroll processor. 2 weeks they couldn't get through. Nobody could help them. They couldn't process payroll. Like it was ridiculous, because it's like got to be illegal not to be able to, right? That the chat, nobody was answering chat, nobody was answering
That's
phones. The
weird.
phone calls would say, we'll call you back in 5 hours. That's the recording. 5 hours.
Wow.
So, I said, well, this isn't working. So I just, went as I usually do. I go to the top, and didn't get one call back to figure out the answers. They got three an hour. So, so it's resolved. But what I'm saying is, you need to understand how to maneuver and how to get around and what your options are on all these things. Or, like most people, you just walk away and you get continued, billing, and you're not getting the service, or you're not getting whatever. So there's a lot of reasons to know, all your stuff. It should be on one piece of paper, or on one Trello board, or one Google Note. And that anyone who, at the end of the day, like if anything happens to me, Stacy knows how to log into anything that I have. There's nothing. If she wanted to get into my bank account, she could do that too, because
that's what I figured. If something happens to me, Spencer knows how to get into everything, so I'm good.
Yeah. So, but it's and if you have nothing to hide, then that shouldn't be a problem, right? Like I can give you here's my phone. Go ahead, read anything you want on it, because literally it's pretty boring. So, but you know what? If you really have everything under control, then it's good for someone else. So here's a thing I'm going to just say. There's people that, are very clear you're not allowed to look at their phone, right? Like there's couples
people who are like, don't look at my phone. Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I don't like people picking up my phone, not for the same reason. I don't care if they read it. I think they're going to screw something up. That's why I don't like people to pick up my phone. It's a little bit different. And I do think, mail is personal. I get it. And so is, whatever, your computer. But at the end of the day, you can open anything you want, and I don't care. Here's the thing. People that are like hiding some stuff on their phone, like if you're a couple and somebody's hiding stuff, the person that's hiding it, when you're dead, they will eventually see all your shit. So,
yeah.
So like you might as well like clean up your act now, because, I mean, it's worse. Like I know most people are going, well, I'm dead, I don't care. You should care, because it's not really fair to that person to have to look at what you've left in your wake when you're gone. You know what I mean? Like
unless you're my brother, who is like the highest tech cybersecurity guy I know, died, and he has part of his hard drive that the best hackers I know, his friends, cannot access.
Right. And then
to this day.
And then you know what? Good for your brother. Yay, absolutely. Good for you. But most people, you have to know, like if you think no one can get into your stuff, you're crazy. I can probably get into most of your stuff, and most people, right?
Absolutely.
I can figure it out. I can play the game. I know how the all the mechanics work. So eventually I can get into your system. So, if you think you're hiding stuff, like get over it. If you're texting people that you don't want people to know, then delete it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing: delete it from all your accounts, because people are dumb. If you have an Apple ID, people, it will show up in all of your Apple world, and it's probably sitting on a server.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I got this spam text. I don't know. I think I won $1 million or something, and I just needed to click and send them money. So I deleted and blocked from my phone. But then I went to my computer, and it's still there. Then I went to my iPad, and it was still there. And then I went, like I just couldn't like permanently deleted. I had to go through multiple places
Yeah.
and click, spam, delete, and block, all of that kind of stuff. But I had to do it all over the place.
Yeah.
So you're
And
right. Like just because you think you delete it, because in Apple
right.
world, you think you delete it and it takes it off of everywhere, but sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah, even though you have it in your cloud that says delete everywhere, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Your files, everything else. And like if you're like me, you have a million Apple devices, old ones that I never, they're still sitting around, old phones and that I've never,
Yeah, old
done it.
iPads that are connected to your Apple ID, old
So
phones.
they're still sitting around, and eventually you can just plug it in. Everything's there.
Yeah.
I don't even know where these devices are, especially after I moved. Like I'm finding stuff. Like I opened a bucket this morning, not just a bag, and I was looking for something in particular, and then I found an iPod, and I was like, "What's that from?" I don't even remember having it.
You can't even buy those anymore.
No, so I'm like, this is kind of cool. And I don't know if you remember when we were at the farm, I found that old iPod that they used to use at Greenpoint. Remember?
Oh, like
an
the
old one
Nano?
that sat with two speakers. You know what the screen was only this big on it?
Yeah.
Right? And then the round dial thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
And like, cool. Like, I'm like, this is awesome. But you could have, so for example, for those of you guys who aren't tech savvy, you could have an audio file on there that you don't even remember. Like it could be one of your audio files that you don't want people to know. So, like I just think it's amazing what people don't know. So if we go back to the beginning of this conversation, it's, understanding what you have, understanding how you log into things, understanding what's out there. Because if you don't know, you're at a massive disadvantage unless you just don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think from a business perspective, you need to care. And you at least need to know the basics to keep your business running. So, and make sure you know how to log in and what is what. Like I said, you want to send an email. Where's your list? What program are you using? How do you do it? Even if you don't want to do it, at least know how to do it and know the basics.
And for those of you who have online businesses, if have a really good business and excuse me, maybe I'm getting COVID over video.
Thank goodness it does not transmit over video, because man, the Zoom calls that would not be happening.
Exactly. But for example, if I now lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
No, it's very important. I have to think about it because it was an important thing.
Okay, everybody stand by.
Okay, it'll come. It'll come.
You can see the wheels
turning. If you have a really good online business, right? If you have a really good online business.
Yeah.
And let's say you're making, $100,000 a year, okay? And it's all on programs that you sell that are already they're already selling, and you unexpectedly die. You're gone, right? So here's the interesting thing. Whoever you've left that to, whether it's a partner or a kid or whatever, if they can't, and I know most people go, well, if I'm gone, nobody wants them. No, because here's the thing. Correct. There is a gentleman that I can't remember his name. I apologize. It was a gentleman that had a really great brand that was selling online programs, young. And he, really great brand. He was on a lot of podcasts, and I'll post it as soon as I remember it. And he passed away unexpectedly, really young, like 30 or something. And his wife, nothing happened for 6 months, and there were great programs, and I have a couple of them. And his wife, a year later, reopened the website and started reselling his stuff because people still wanted his stuff because it was so good.
Exactly.
So rather than shut it all down, people were like, I understand he's gone, but I still want to use his stuff because it was really good. And then she ended up eventually, building it to another level. But it took her, I guess, 6 months or a year to decide. Like, she probably initially was just going to shut it down, but then she probably got a lot of, people messaging her saying, look, this is a great brand and we really want to keep it going. So good for her. But if she had not been able to, maintain the stuff that he was doing, it wouldn't have worked. So you really have to think about those things. Is it morbid? It's life, right? Or death, whatever you want to think about.
It is. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
Right.
So yes, and one of the other, just to sum up, one of the other lessons that I think we learned from last week is just because you miss a week, we kind of talked, when we were kind of promoting the challenge, get on
Yeah.
top of things, blah, 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 blah. But just because you miss a week does not mean your whole year is messed
Done.
up. You can
Yeah.
there's people who are doing the challenge this week,
Yes.
which
People
is
do the challenge all year, right?
absolutely. So it's really important. So we are actually going to be going back and doing it this week and next week. So January for us is more of a planning month as
Yeah.
opposed to if I didn't get it done this week, my whole year is messed up. No.
Yeah.
No, let's be real. And we
Yeah.
do have to embrace, which is my word, flexibility, right? Just because things didn't happen this way doesn't mean that there's not plan B to Z.
Right.
So, and
Yeah.
we have such a good point, Faye. If you look at someone like Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. Yeah. There's just so many people out there that are, like their legacies live on, and they only live on because somebody's looking after them. Right. But
Exactly.
if you've chosen to hide all your stuff and you don't want anyone, to do anything after the fact, then then it will just go away. And how sad is that? Right.
Exactly.
It's an interesting thing. People don't want to talk about it because people don't like to talk about their own death, right? They don't like to talk
Yeah.
about
Well, it's the same thing, preparing for all that stuff, right? Preparing for things so that other people don't have to stress about it.
Yeah.
So
And
locking things
we
away.
both
So
know
it is an important conversation.
we both know firsthand how much work it is when somebody doesn't plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we've both had a situation where we had to literally, it was hell trying to do everything because we weren't left with anything. And, and there's a difference because your situation, your brother was fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't, I get it. You don't plan as much. In my situation, they were older and they didn't want to talk about anything.
Right.
So they refused because for some people, they don't want to face that, like, and it makes a difference. So you have to be open to it. You have to be saying, okay, look, I really want to do this the right way. Just like everything else in my life, I want to do this correctly. So let me learn about what it is that runs my business. Let me understand it, at least at a top level. Let me make sure that there's somebody who can pick it up if I'm not here. Regardless, I mean, for a lot of people, they ended up in the hospital with COVID for like 6 months, on vents, on everything else. And they were literally gone from their business for that long if they came back, but they were gone. And then they come back 6 months later, everything could be gone if you didn't have somebody running it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So really important to plan. So plan for the year, plan for everything. Make sure that you know how to get into everything and access everything.
Yeah.
And make sure you have somebody that if you drop the ball, that they can pick up the ball.
Yeah.
Or if the ball is sick.
And they can figure out your passwords even if you didn't tell them.
Well, before we go, I just want to give a shout out. It's my mom's birthday today. So happy birthday, Mom.
Yay. That's
birthday,
nice.
Mom.
Big one.
No, just a regular birthday. Not a milestone birthday. But you know what? Every
birthday's a big one.
Every birthday's a big birthday. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Well, we will call it a day. We have more planning to do because, like I said, we've got some catch-up work to do.
We have lots to do today.
That's okay. Yeah. So have yourself a good one, and we will see you next week.
Bye.